Welcome back to Research Lesson 1, Getting Started. So, where we left off, colorism. We had just learned about kind of the gist of what colorism was, and now we're opening up all of these different articles from Huffington Post. Part of research and part of the research process, as you're probably used to at this point, being someone who is exposed to technology all the time. Part of the research process is sifting through everything that comes your way. So sifting through everything that comes your way is going to kind of play into the www dot framework that we'll talk about in just a little while. Now, let me show you how I quickly scan and figure out the purposes of each of these articles. So let's start randomly. So we've already watched this video, how colorism affects people around the world. Let's start at one of these Huffington Post articles. Okay, so this was the main site. So Huffington Post colorism was the main site. But now let's look at the Tika Sumpter, actress on The Haves and the Have-Nots, talks about loving her dark skin. Okay, so instead of watching this video, because I want to start actually gaining and soaking in some knowledge, I'm going to read this bottom part first. Okay. So this is going to be against the idea of colorism, because we know colorism is the discrimination and against people of darker skin tones, because remember, the lighter your skin tone, we learned from the video, the more valuable and worthy you're considered to be. And so Tyler Perry has just cast this woman because he purposely chose an intelligent, gorgeous, dark-skinned actress. During an Oprah discussion on colorism, the prejudice people face. So this would be a personal account of Sumter talking about what it was like growing up. So I could use this if I really wanted to make an emotional appeal to my audience, but it's not necessarily the most factual. It's more of an opinion, right? And let's look at the bottom here. Well, come on, page, it should load. And so there are all these comments. There's different advertisements, things that are most popular, pop-up about the 25 most influential black models. That's irrelevant. Most of that is irrelevant, and so now I know that this video, if I need to use it about the haves and the have-nots, is going to just be talking about her experience as a young girl. So you could use that for kind of an emotional appeal. But I'm going to close out of that for right now. So this next one is Colorism, Ilanya Van Zant Life Class. People play into colorism without realizing it. Okay, why is it important for white people to understand colorism? Because it is so ingrained and it is so unconscious. This seems like really important information. What I am going to do is favorite this up here right now. So it'll be in my favorites and my bookmarks. So I'm not ready to commit to this source yet and say this is one of my top sources, but based on that information, it deserves to be favorited. Because guess what? It's telling me why this is an important issue. It's so ingrained, it's so unconscious. Very often, unwittingly, white people play into it. Those who unknowingly contribute to colorism may even do so on a regular basis. Other communities, let me not just say white, other communities play into it by vibrating toward those who look and feel and sound more like them. Okay, so the idea that we are attracted, not just romantically, but just in general, we're attracted to people who are very similar to us. That makes sense. While Alanya believes that this instinct can help foster colorism, she doesn't suggest casting aside similar-looking friends. Rather, the first step towards combating is simple and powerful. Acknowledge that it exists. You've got to acknowledge that it exists. So in the future, if I'm thinking about how to kind of combat the idea of colorism, because with this research paper, ding, 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 let's talk about the research paper. We have to find out what the problem is in each of the social issues that we choose for our research paper. So you have one social issue. You find out what the problem is. You find kind of the starting, the beginning, the root of the problem. You have to figure that out as part of your research. And then you have to figure out solutions. And so look here. Acknowledge that it exists. You've got to acknowledge that it exists. That, a way to combat it or to solve colorism, this is one potential solution, according to this woman. Now, who is this woman? Elanya Van Zandt. Who is this woman? Because is she worth reading? Is she credible? I don't know. Do you know? No. So let's Google her. Let's figure it out. And so she has an official web page. She's smiling over here. She has an official web page. She has written Forgiveness Journey. Let's see. Daily Prayers and Affirmations. So she is a spirited woman who is talking about miracles and forgiveness. What about site navigation? About. Okay. She is one of America's most profound spiritual leaders and empowerment legends. She has 15 published books. Okay, so she's worth 15 published books, 5 New York Times bestsellers. Wow. Okay. Wow. So she's hosting a magazine. She's a host of the #1 reality show on the OWN network. So that's why she's connected to Oprah. So Oprah is supporting her and is supporting and kind of boosting whatever she's supporting. So she is connected very tightly to Oprah because she's getting paid by Oprah because Oprah owns the OWN network, produced by Harpo Studios. So let's just take a second, because let's say I definitely want to use this resource because it has a potential solution in it. Okay, so let's take a pause on everything else before we look at the, 30 other websites that Miss Odell has selected from the Huffington Post thing to read, which I do expect you to be reading a lot for this research paper, since I'm giving you a ton of time to read before you start writing. And so researching is really going to be the key component here with this paper. So please, more than anything else, think about it's about building that base of knowledge. But instead of us reading all of these articles up here right now, let's say I want to use this information about Iyanla Van Zandt for kind of thinking about a solution for my paper. Okay, that leads us into this idea. Research lesson number 2, the framework, www. Okay, so you guys have all gotten papers that look like this before. Do you remember during the Betty Martini research project thing, Nancy Markle, Betty Martini research thing, you had to not only fill out the www framework, but apply it to the Nancy Markle research that you were doing. Well, here's the thing. We are going to apply the www framework to every single source that you are going to use. And so let's go back to this. So you pick a topic on the social issue. We've picked out colorism. Then you're going to begin researching until you have a base of knowledge. We right now don't have a full base of knowledge, but we have a general idea of what we're going to research about. Now that we've chosen the best of the best from one of the sources, meaning the one that was about Elanya Van Zandt, we are going to apply the www framework to her source. And so if we look here on our document, we have kind of the problem labeled out. Our problem, as you can see, is colorism is an issue in the Midwest and throughout the United States. So that was the social issue we've chosen and the one that we've been talking about. We are now looking for potential causes of colorism, and we looked at, remember from the Oprah video, we looked at the roots being slavery and intergenerational intergenerational